On this episode, we wrap up season 5 by traveling around the globe to meet someone on a mission to help everyone stop drinking. My guest is Monika, whose personal journey to sobriety is filled with stories you won't believe. Exposed to alcohol at a young age, like many of us, she never thought it was a problem. But when she became pregnant and found herself craving her daily beer, she realized this might be bigger than she thought. That moment spiraled into drinking beers at the hospital after giving birth, and eventually downing as many drinks as possible while waiting for the bus after work, sometimes even urinating herself on the way home. We also talk about OutKast, Orange Fanta, and gummy bears. Let's jump in.
Voila.
Monika,
Hey, Scott. Yes, can you see and hear me?
I can see and hear you both. Can you see and hear me?
I can see and hear you loud and clear.
Excellent.
Yes, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. And before we get started, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No, I'm honored, really, because it's over the pond. I've never been invited to a podcast over the sea, and today I scrolled again through your profile, and you have the ability to make the people somehow very comfortable. You know, it's just very natural. It's flowing, and this is what I like. Well, not every podcast on this planet is a good one, you know.
that is true. Not every person on this planet is a good person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How are you?
I'm great, and I appreciate that. It's a little bit easier to get a vibe with someone if they're in my studio, but I really try hard when I do something like this, like over the pond. I try really hard to capture the same ideas and the same thoughts that I have when someone's with me. But when someone's here, like we have dinner and we hang out, and my daughter puts on a show, and it's a whole thing.
Cool.
You know? Yeah. So if you ever come to the United States, right? And it's a big place, but if you ever come to Texas and specifically Austin, you are more than welcome to come do this anytime.
Hey, and now you are the second person from Austin who is actually inviting me to come to Austin. Do you know the account from Sean Livingston?
Yes.
I Am Redemption. Yeah.
Yes.
He also said, "Hey, Monika, come and run with us on our redemption runs." And so, and I really did. I did check the flight tickets and so on. And after that is incredibly expensive. But
how much does it cost to fly? You're in Switzerland, correct?
Yes, it is approximately 1,400 or 1,700.
Wow.
And then you have only the flight. You have no place to stay. You have nothing. That's incredible.
It's definitely. I have my mentor lives in Budapest, and so I've visited Budapest, so I definitely know what you're talking about. But I'm lucky; I have a place to stay when I get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But what I'm unsure about, and maybe you can brief me a little bit, because then I also know what kind of questions I could maybe ask back is, what is or was your relationship to alcohol? You never had a problematic relationship with alcohol, right?
Okay.
You are a sneakaholic. I know you are a sneakaholic.
No, okay. So you're the expert. So you tell me. I pretty much I don't drink anymore. I will, like, if I have a podcast, like I'll have a beer or a drink with the guest or something like that, or we'll go out to dinner every once in a while and get a drink, or just like sometimes I'm just like, I just want a beer. But it's never it's never been a thing of like, I have to drink. And the only times I really drank were in college, socially. I would never drink at home by myself. I wouldn't drink on Sundays because I had school the next day. I mean, like, so, you know, I think for me, it was more of, you know, because I thought about this a lot. And I think for me, it was more of a thing that made me, you know, fit in, feel comfortable, be part of the crowd. And, you know, and then when I no longer kind of felt like I needed that, like once I got to here, I was kind of like, well, why am I even drinking at all? Like, you know, and so then it just kind of fell off, you know.
That's cool. Let's talk about that. That's a healthy relationship.
Well, but that's how I approached pretty much everything. And I think probably me changing my life and approaching it more in this way is what made me have a new relationship with alcohol. Because I remember when I first like started feeling like I just don't want to drink anymore, but I would go out with my friends. I would kind of be like, well, I feel weird like getting a water. You know, I mean, and so I would just be like, yeah, I'll take a beer. That's fine. You know what I mean? And I would sip on it. You know, I probably wouldn't even finish it maybe, you know. And so alcohol has never been, mine is chocolate. That's my addiction is chocolate. And I'm a health and fitness and mind coach. So like, you think I would know, but I mean, Oreos are they're the poison, the worst.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so addicted to sugar. And so that's what I really work. But, you know, you tell me if I'm wrong. Part of addiction maybe of alcohol is also the sugar that's in alcohol and the addiction to sugar, correct?
I think the addiction itself is to ethanol, the substance ethanol, because there is the huge, strong psychoactive part in it, which alters all the neurotransmitter. But the sugar in alcohol is still a topic for many, absolutely indeed, when they stop drinking, because we continue to have huge sugar cravings. Yeah, really, really. And the sugar cravings are even worse than during the time we drank. And sometimes they stay for really a long while. So that's a really interesting thing. But yeah, if we talk about addiction, I have still a high sugar consumption too. In my nutrition. I love chocolate. I love Haribo. I love lollipops.
Okay,
sometimes
what was the second thing that you said?
Haribo, these jelly beers.
Okay, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
I eat everything what is sweet. It's everything what is sweet. Yeah. One can call it a little addiction shift. But it's, well, I'm kind to myself. I always tell myself, well, at least I can drive the car safely after I indulged in a bar of chocolate. This is not possible when I have a bottle of vodka. So I improved. Yes, you see.
So tell me how this all starts. Tell me how your sobriety starts and Mission Invictus starts. Because let me say this. I love your content. And I also love that you do it in 2 languages. That's amazing. And so like I'm learning 2 things.
I switched to German now. Maybe you have seen that.
Just
because
German?
Because the Instagram algorithm was and is always confused when you post in 2 languages. You do not reach the people.
Really?
Yeah, you do not reach the people. Never, ever were my posts or my messages distributed here in Switzerland. I have more than 90% of the followers are coming from the US.
Really?
And at a certain point, I realized, unfortunately, I'm not reaching the people from the country I'm living in. And we have a big problem with alcohol here in Switzerland, too. And then I was really puzzled and I thought, what shall I do? And at the end of the day, and it's a bit unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I decided to stay on Instagram in my mother tongue, German, to reach the people here. And it is a bit easier for me too. Yeah, because doing everything in 2 languages is also high of a workload. You have to do everything double. And so now it's German, but some people still use the translation thing, and and comment, and I understand, and that's good. And I still follow a lot of accounts in the US, of course, like you, for example.
Well, if you do a post in German, I'll only respond in German. I'll just go to Google Translate and I'll take my question or my comment and I'll translate it to German.
Aww.
So everything's in German. How about that?
Good. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so tell me how you got sober and tell me about how you started Mission Invictus.
Yes, I got sober in the absolute silence of the first pandemic lockdown. After years of struggling and let's say it's failed attempts, let's put it that way. The pandemic was really a huge crisis, but for me it was also a chance, because it was so silent all of a sudden, and life was so quiet that I had the strength to tackle this problem finally. But I had 2 relapses around the 4th month mark each, but I learned a lot about that, and I just kept going until now. So in June, almost 5 years.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you. But it was hard. So I'm really honest with you. It wasn't easy.
Tell me about relapsing and what you know and what you learned about relapsing.
Well, I think it was a combination of being a bit overconfident and this bloody fading effect bias. I don't know if you have heard about it, but let's talk about it later. So on the one hand side, I thought, wow, Monika, I've been sober for 4 months now. Now you can do it. Now you can drink what people call so normally. Now you can have one. Prove it to yourself. You can do it. That was the overconfident part in myself. And I lost also a little bit sight of my why. What were the initial reasons to get sober? I lost a little bit sight of that. And the other part is this bias. This is a very helpful bias for us humans. That is the tendency that we tend to forget negative emotions more quickly than positive ones. For example, you run a marathon, you finish it, you're at the finish line, and you are thinking, gosh, that was so hard. Never, ever again. I'm in full pain. And 2 days later, you say, let's do it again, because the pride is more prominent than the pain you had in this moment. That's the fading effect bias. And that kicked in too. And then I thought, okay, let's try. Let's have 1 beer. And that didn't work, because I can't have just 1 beer. Yeah, that was the first relapse. And I corrected the path and had a very similar pattern 4 months later again in my mind. And here I really dove deep into the why question. Why, Monika? Why are you still relapsing now? And I'm thinking that this relapse was also a sign of the strength of addiction. This is really a grip on you. And I worked a lot on this why, and I adjusted a little bit my techniques, my way of thinking, my way of dealing with it. And then I kept going until now. And the 3rd relapse won't happen, Scott. I'm convinced.
So what's different now? Like, hang on 1 second. I'm gonna my dehumidifier's on in here. I'm gonna turn it off because it's kind of loud. Hang on. All right.
Hey, so this is a really cool T-shirt, by the way.
Oh,
thank you.
This is
a really cool shirt. Have you stopped growing?
Are you okay? Are you? Do you listen to hip hop music?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Do you know who OutKast is?
Yes.
Do you know who Andre 3000 is?
No.
So he's one of the members of OutKast. There's 2 guys.
Okay.
Okay, and this is his shirt. This is he made these shirts.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it went to like a charity donation thing or something. And then it has this
Cool.
little thing on the thing that I think is really cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was
Cool.
expensive though. It was really expensive. But it charity, right? It goes to charity. So I got a cool shirt.
Yeah, that's a win-win. By the way, end of May, I traveled to Scotland to see Robbie Williams in Edinburgh. Have you seen the Netflix series about Robbie Williams and his addiction problems, his biography, his topics around anxiety, depression, and all that? It's just awesome.
But you're the second person to bring that up, so now I think I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yes. Okay. Go. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Okay, so
it's
anyway,
a lot about growing. Okay.
Derailed. So, what's different this time? How do you know that you're not going to relapse? Like, how do you know it's different than times before?
That's a very good question. I think I really, really anchored all the, let's say, the wins I have of recovery and sobriety. And not for $1 million, I would give that away. Now I really live in freedom with inner peace. And very important, I'm authentic. I'm finally authentic. And this feels like freedom too. And I do not want to give that away. And I'm a mother. My son can trust me. My stepdaughter can trust me. Finally, they can trust me. I don't want to lose their trust and their love. Never, ever.
Did they not trust you before?
My son was very small. He was born 2014. And well, my worst years were 16 and 17. So, but I was kind of functioning. I was functioning at work still, and I was still somehow functioning at home. Yeah. And I was always there for him, but more physically than emotionally. I was always beside him when he was playing, but I was not really playing with him because I had my beer. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You were there. You were there physically. You weren't there mentally and emotionally.
Exactly. I had my beer in my hand, not the hand of my son. When I talk to him now he's 11, he says he cannot remember. He cannot remember that times. But when we go through my camera roll and the pictures, and I really look different. Yeah. For example, I was 17 kilos more. I looked very sick. He's looking at the pictures and he's saying, but mommy, that isn't you. That isn't you. And I say, yes, it's me. Yeah. But I know I cannot control alcohol. If I start drinking again at a certain point in time, I will lose everything. Myself, my son, my stepdaughter, my family, and it's not worth it. I stay sober.
Cliche question. Do you remember the first time you had a drink?
Yes, it was October 1992. I was 15 years and I had a beer. It was disgusting, but I took a second one because I had the effects. You remember, huh? Because I had the effect. And interestingly, I was 15. And only 3 months later, so still at the age of 15, I woke up at intensive care unit with a huge alcohol intoxication with almost 3, we say here in Europe, per mil blood alcohol content. And the situation was really, really dangerous. And I'm still grateful for the doctors and that I woke up So, and by the way, I think I had no learnings after that. And we didn't talk about it at home. I think my parents really felt a little bit embarrassed, and they didn't know how to tackle that issue, how to approach their daughter. So it was a kind of embarrassing silence at home. And only a couple of weeks later, I continued to drink beer. And I remember that I relatively quickly threw up again because I drank too much. So my relationship to alcohol was never good. Right from the beginning, it was never okay. Whatever a good relationships look like, but it was never okay, Scott. And you? Do you remember that? Your first drink?
I remember things that I drank, because to you, like, to the same point, like, like I had a beer, it was disgusting or whatever. But like also, like, as a kid, my grandparents were alcoholics. And so there was always alcohol like around, and they would always let me have a sip. You know what I mean? So I didn't like, I knew it was gross, like when I was real, and maybe that was part of it. Maybe that idea that it was gross when I was a little kid just carried on. And I just, I liked it for a while because it served a purpose, but it was never something I needed. I don't know, but I just have memories of drinking early and not liking it. Like, that's all I remember, and a lot of it was because, I wanted to be confident and okay and be cool and all the things that teenagers might do when they experiment with drugs and alcohol, I would say,
Yes, but it's good that you do not have a problem with it, that you didn't end up in addiction like I did. This is good.
What was,
and I'm really happy for you.
Oh, well, thank you. What was the example of alcohol at home when you were little? What was alcohol?
My parents didn't drink, but
not at all.
Same what you said. My grandparents, two of them from the four I had, drank and were definitely addicted, and quite some uncles were heavily addicted, and one died from liver cirrhosis very early. So interestingly, I had addicted people in my family, and part of me was always thinking, no, I won't end up like them. No, it's a warning sign for me. They are a warning signal, huh? It won't happen to me. Typical, very typical, by the way. Yeah, but it did. And very interestingly is then in my 20s, I continued to drink at social events. Huh? When you were at the party and you wanted to belong and you want to feel good and all that. And I moved from Germany to Switzerland in my 30s, and all of a sudden I had no friends here. I was relatively alone. I came here for business. And so there was no social life. There were no people I could drink with. So my drinking behavior shifted a little bit, and I started drinking at home. But absolutely not much. Not even every day. But I had a beer or two, let's say on an average on 5 days a week. And Scott, that was enough. That was enough to develop a serious alcohol problem. So this is what I always tell to people who still drink from time to time. This is my recommendation coming from my heart. Do not underestimate the power of a substance that is addictive by its very nature.
100%.
Yeah. And then it was the year 2013 when I was pregnant, and I was happy, and I went to the fridge and opened the fridge in the evening to grab my beer. And I realized, holy shit, I cannot drink for the next 9 months. I'm pregnant. And there I got panic. And I was really stressed out. Really, really stressed out. And there I realized, for the first time in my life, I realized I have a problem, a serious problem with alcohol, which is most probably called addiction at that moment. And I realized it in that moment, but the addiction itself obviously manifested itself earlier in time, and I absolutely didn't recognize it at all. That's a really dangerous disease. It comes so silently, you don't realize it. Voila.
Is that the first, when you went to the refrigerator and you realized you were pregnant, was that the first time that you were really, really with yourself that you like, I got a problem? Or had you thought you had a problem before that? Or did that time not even feel like, you just kind of was like, oh yeah, that's not good, but you weren't worried about it? Does that make sense?
Yes, your question makes sense. And it was definitely that moment when I realized I had a serious problem for the first time. Because I drank regularly, yes, but not much, and binge drinking only from time to time, and the typical thinking of others drink more. And I was really successful in my with working and so on. I never realized I had a problem with it. And that time was the first time. And then it's also crazy. What I completely missed was what is written on your shirt is the growing part. Now, what to do with this realization? I did nothing. Nothing, Scott, nothing. I just stopped drinking for the next 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I drank a lot of Fanta instead. I had so much Fanta. It was incredible.
What's your
Really?
What's your favorite flavor of Fanta?
The classic orange, the orange.
Oh, money, orange all day. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
And I still love it today. Interestingly,
in college,
my son too.
In college, this is so shameful. In college, we were all my friends. We played video games, and maybe in college we maybe smoked weed. Maybe or maybe not. I'm not saying we did.
Maybe, of course.
Maybe. So anyway, so we would get like orange Fanta, and then we'd just cook a ton of corn dogs, and we would just have orange Fanta and corn dogs and Doritos. My diet was so horrible in college. So horrible. Anyways, I totally hijacked that. So you replace the booze with Fanta while you're pregnant, right?
Right. Yes. I love the corn dogs as well, by the way. And after that, and then I focused, of course, on the pregnancy, and I had a really good one, and I was happy, by the way. And no growing, no learning, no self-reflection, no plan, no strategy, no tactics, nothing for the time after birth with relation to alcohol. So I gave birth, and then I was in hospital. And then I got calls from families and friends. Hi, Monika, what can we bring you? And people are wishing things like baby clothes or whatsoever. And I said, please bring me beer. I deserve it. And they did. And I started drinking in hospital again.
No. Wow.
Yes. And I have a picture, Scott. This is incredible. My son is 48 hours or so. I have him on the left arm, and on the right arm, I have a beer can. This is me in hospital. And this goes deep, yeah. It's still hard to see it. It's still hard to see it, to be honest. And after that point in time, everything got worse and worse and worse and worse.
remember when you were talking about earlier that, that you specifically wanted to help people where you're at, and, that about the Instagram and splitting them up and stuff like that, right? And tell me about just the culture of drinking in Europe. And did that play any impact on the comfortability of not only you drinking in the hospital, but people willing to bring that to you? Because I feel like I have a daughter, right? And we were in the hospital. She was born during COVID. I feel like if my girlfriend had asked me for beer, or if asked somebody else to bring it and they brought beer, I would have been like, what are y'all doing? You know what I mean? And so
Wow.
I feel like there's a different culture in Europe around drinking. So could you talk to that a little bit?
I have sometimes a lack of words to describe this culture, because alcohol is everywhere. It's on a pedestal, really on a pedestal. It belongs to every celebration, to every famous business event, private event, to a good dinner, and so on. In Germany, it's a lot of beer, especially in southern Germany, and here in Switzerland, it's also a very strong wine culture. Yeah. And Switzerland ranks, I think, is on rank 25 worldwide with the most consumed per person, and Germany is on rank 5.
Wow.
So, I mean, this says everything. In Switzerland, here we have approximately 8 million people living in this small country. At least around 300,000 are addicted. Every fifth adult drinks too much, and one child per school class, in average, lives with a parent who is addicted to a substance. This is very, very sad statistics. However, there's a lot of stigma and a lot of shame. People are judged when they have a problem with alcohol, and they are also judged when they are sober. No matter what's the reason. Some are just sober curious, others have health issues, again, others were addicted. People are somehow labeled in both areas, the addiction and recovery area. Only this mainstream is that drinks from time to time and thinks they drink healthy enough, that is not judged. That's the culture how I perceive it. And that's the culture how people also tell me how they perceive it. And that's hard to change. That's really hard. The lobby is extremely strong. The regulation is much worse than in the US. For example, in Germany, Scott, it's incredible. In Germany, you're allowed to drink sparkling wine, or beer with an adult around you at the age of 14. Not even 16 or 18. It's 14. That's sick.
So, I've been to Europe a handful of times, right? And
how do you perceive that? That's interesting, though.
That's what I was thinking, because I would really I really would love your expert opinion over here, because I feel like there's a lot of similarities, right? But when I've been to Europe, I don't know if this is a fair statement. I feel like that, anytime you go out to eat, it's kind of like, are you going to get a drink? Even if it's like lunch, Yeah. And a lot of times here, people at least wait till dinner or happy hour. I think maybe I'm not speaking for alcoholics, but I'm speaking for that. I feel like just, I don't know, it's the fact that Germany, and we know about beer, you know what I mean? That we know that Germany has beer, and it's a big deal, says that to me that the culture says it's a big deal. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yes, absolutely.
And so, because when I've gone over to Europe and I haven't drank,
people always think it's weird. Like, you know what I mean? In a different kind of way than when I go out with my friends here and I don't drink. And I know my friends here, so maybe it's just like it's strangers. But also there's like kind of an expectation and like, you know, if we go out to like do something, we're probably going to have drinks, you know? And so I think I remember my brother went to Austria to see his in-laws, right? And he told me that they would have peppermint schnapps like for breakfast, like during breakfast, they would have like peppermint schnapps like with their breakfast. And I was like, they're drinking like alcohol at breakfast? I was like, that's wild.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. And so I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a culture here of drinking, but I think that to your point, it's just, it feels like it's more part of European culture of just the culture in general. There's not like a subculture. It's like the whole culture is kind of revolved around drinking. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. And I think there's nothing right or wrong. It's just your perception. And I share your perception. Beer and drinks are everywhere. And I've been to southern Germany last week, as I wrote you, and there is this famous beer gardens are everywhere, and people start drinking no matter what time it is. It is absolutely normal. And during the weakest years of my addiction, I did the same. I drank also at, if possible, at 8 o'clock in the morning. But at that point in time, I didn't drink because I wanted to. I had to drink because I needed it. I was so addicted because after that birth, everything really get worse. But yeah, the culture is crazy and it's hard to challenge it. You know, I do not only want to help, but that's my main goal and passion and purpose is to help people as a peer support out of addiction. Yeah, that's my main passion and purpose. I'm not a therapist. It's like peer support. And I also would like to fight against the stigma and to improve the culture and to work in the prevention area. And this is so hard. This is so hard. Many people don't like to listen to you. They don't like to collaborate, or they say, no, it's all wrong. Many people still believe alcohol is healthy. Many people still have that written on their websites when they sell it. This is completely bullshit, and nobody is challenging it. The industry can do what they want here. The regulation, the politics allows that. Because this is sad.
Yeah, because it's such it. I mean, when you think of like Oktoberfest and like stuff like that, it's such a revenue. I mean, the revenue's built around drinking and beer, right?
It's you know Oktoberfest. You are in Austin and know Oktoberfest. This is great. Yeah, but you see, it's even famous. Yeah. Oktoberfest is even famous in Texas, and probably not because of the dirndl and the dresses, because of the beer and the parties, right?
Well, it's all of it, and also like I have friends that have gone and done it, you know, gone and done the thing, and so like maybe I know more of it because I've seen them over there dressed up with the whole stuff, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
I really quick, I want to go back. I'm curious. So, what was going through your mind? Like the 9 months that you had to stay sober, how were you feeling and thinking about your sobriety at that time?
I was focusing on not drinking. I compensated that with Fanta. I was focusing on giving birth to a healthy child and not damaging him with drinks. I was absolutely not thinking about healing myself, about the realization I had at the fridge, about how does the future look like. And I was not preparing for my future. I think I I drank from time to time my evening beers because I was a bit overwhelmed. I had a job and a management position with a team and quite a lot of responsibility. And 2 years before, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Mm.
This was a tough moment, really a tough moment. And I didn't really digest that, I think. I didn't really digest it, what that means for my life. So I was a bit overwhelmed. And 6 months after my son was born, I had to return back to my job with a relatively high work pensum. Otherwise, I needed to find another function in the company, right? And I mean, when I was already a bit overwhelmed before, I could have anticipated how much overwhelmed I will be when I return back to the job with MS, with fatigue I sometimes have, and having a little child. But I didn't do that. I just went and did my work and tried to be a good mother in the evening, and I was completely overwhelmed, and I started drinking whenever I can to numb the stress, to numb the feelings, to numb the overwhelm, to numb the fears, and everything got worse.
So your habits go from having a couple beers a night to what?
To having many beers whenever possible throughout the whole day.
How would you do that? What would you do to get those beers?
Okay. So when I was working, I started drinking after work. I didn't drink at work, after work. But my cravings were so huge, so huge. I can tell you in a couple of while, I can tell you a little story what happened to me when these cravings were huge. So I started drinking after work as much as I can in the time I had left. If I was off or it was weekend, I started drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning, beer after beer after beer. I also had some Aperol Spritz from time to time, Prosecco or white wine. And by the way, I calculated that. I estimated how much I drank in 10 years, and I was pregnant. So actually it was almost 9 years and 3 months, something like that. I calculated how much I drank, and I drank approximately 7,000 liters of alcoholic beverages, so 7 tons in these 10 years.
Wow.
Picture a tank of 7 tons, and my liver who has to metabolize that. Horrible.
Wow.
And that's a strong picture that also helps me to stay sober.
You were telling me a story. You were saying that.
Yeah. You know what happened? I mean, I came home from work with public transport, and then I had to go onto a bus to arrive at home. And I had 5 minutes between the train and the bus. And very often my cravings were so huge, that urge to drink, so huge. The whole focus was on a drink, on having a drink, because I couldn't drink during the day, that I missed the bus on purpose, because the next one went in 30 minutes later, and that gave me 30 minutes to go to a kiosk and to drink before I came home and had to do the work and spend the time with my son. So I went to the kiosk and I bought a lot of beer, and I drank and drank and drank and drank. And my bladder didn't manage to cope with that amount of beer in such a short time frame. So what happened more than once was that I was standing at the bus stop with a full bladder, no public toilet and I just peed in my pants.
You did that more than once?
Yeah, that happened more than once.
Wow.
But the last time when that happened, two women walked around the bus stop and they saw me and they started talking and chatting and they were staring at me and then they started laughing. And that was the moment where I had the feeling that I'm entering the bus, but my dignity was still at the bus stop. I had the feeling I lost my dignity at that moment. And that was also a very powerful moment where I realized I need help. I need help now.
Is that the moment that you went and got help?
Yes. It was not the moment when I got sober. I got sober 3 years later, but it was the first moment I reached out for help. I tried 3 different approaches. I contacted AA. I tried addiction counseling and I went to a psychiatrist. And it didn't work. It didn't work. And with the psychiatrist, it was hard because it was a very supportive, nice man, but he gave me a lot of medication. And I also had benzos, these benzodiazepines, right? And sleeping pills. So instead of getting rid of one addiction, I had another one on this bloody drugs on top. So I was still drinking, just a little bit more smiling while I drank due to the serotonin retakers and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, I had another addiction on top and that was not the goal. That was not the goal. And so this was then not working, but at least I tried. At least I tried.
So how many times total would you say you relapsed? Only twice, or was there a lot more before the pandemic and stuff?
The serious attempt I had to become sober and to stop drinking were really after the pandemic. So I had two relapses. But Scott, I had approximately 1,000 day ones.
Sure.
1,000 days when you woke up in the morning and say, holy shit, you look like shit. You feel like shit. This is a life in prison. It's a life in an emotional prison. You are far away of being free and the architect of your life. You are a slave to the bottle. Today, I stopped drinking. I don't drink today. I said this 1,000 times in the morning, only to see myself at the fridge a couple of hours later.
So what was the conversation inside yourself a couple hours later in the afternoon? What were you saying to yourself then? Like, it's okay if I have a beer, you can do it tomorrow. Like, what were you saying to yourself?
I wouldn't even say it was me talking. It was the voice of addiction talking. It was
what did they say?
Bloody grip of addiction. Monika, you can't do it. Look at you. You are a wreck. You need that. You need that now. You can't do it. Have one, and then you feel better. And then maybe we can negotiate again.
So it always started with having one.
Yeah.
Like, and then like in your mind, you're like, okay, after we have one, we'll negotiate whether we're going to have, but one won't be a big deal. Like, kind of like
exactly.
that.
Yes, exactly. And you know, alcohol is really, or this voice I had in my mind had a solution for every feeling. When I tried to say, oh, I don't drink today, and then I felt sad, alcohol was kind of the, well, I will help you. I will soothe your soul. Yes.
You'll be happy.
I'll help you. You'll be happy. Exactly. When you were kind of tired, the voice is telling, hey, you'll get a little euphoria. I give you a little push. Huh? When you felt lonely, it was like, hey, you know me. I'm your friend. I'm your friend. Come on, take me. this is the voice of addiction and alcohol with the various functions and the various costumes this voice is wearing, then sneaking in, and you're drinking.
I've said this before. Do you know what I think would really kind of help me with alcohol too? I read this book. It was called, now I'm totally blanked on the name. Alcohol Lied to Me was the name of the book. Have you ever read that book before?
No.
Okay.
No, maybe, no. Mm-hmm.
Here's the cool part about it. So there's a book called Alcohol Lied to Me, but if you listen to the audio book, the guy that does the book is a hypnotist. He does hypnotherapy, and he's a hypnotist of sorts, right? And I've had a hypnotherapist, and I've worked with her, right? So I know kind of how that all shakes out, like how it, and 100%. When you listen to the audiobook, he's doing hypnotherapy. Like it just has that pattern. And so I always wonder, did I get hypnotized into not really being into alcohol anymore? Because I have such a different relationship with it now. But let me say this. I also think getting more right with myself as a human being and as a person had a bigger impact on me not drinking than anything else I could have done. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. This is growing, and this is healing, and this is evolving. Absolutely. And I'm still doing this. I did that, and I'm still doing this. And by the way, I had my first hypnotherapy approximately a month ago. The first one in my life ever. It was really great.
So do you mind talking about your experience with it?
Yeah, no, it was great. I faced this. This has nothing to do with addiction, rather with my childhood, but I thought it had something to do maybe with addiction because my self-worth was so small, and alcohol is stealing this self-respect, self-love, and self-worth and everything, right? I mean, the voice is telling you all the time, you're a wreck, but actually you feel like one too. Right. And I had anxiety, Scott, sometimes driving my car. And I had such an anxiety that I was unable to drive any car that was a little bit bigger. I can't. I'm sweating, breathing like crazy. The heart is racing. And I thought, that's maybe because my self-worth is so low and or not good enough, or alcohol has manipulated me. But where does this bloody anxiety from driving come from? And then I went to hypnotherapy. And a week after, I drove a big car from another person. I drove it, and I was behind the wheel, and I was like, yes! It was really good.
I think there's definitely, there's some magic to it if you lean into it. If you resist it, then it's not really going to work. You know what I mean? You have to be open-minded to the idea that it can actually be helpful and work. And I think, we have so many guardians that are guarding what's going on inside of here that, like, when my hypnotherapist initially did it, she didn't even tell me. And I felt like I kept kind of falling asleep during therapy sessions. And I kept telling her, I'm drinking these energy drinks and I keep falling asleep. And she's like, no, we're going through hypnotherapy. That's why. And I was like, well, you could have told me, but I really think that she helped me with becoming the person that I am now on ways that I don't even understand. I think whatever she dug inside my head and whatever she got out and took care of is what I needed. And I'm so grateful, Cheryl.
Wow.
Cheryl, wherever you are, I'm grateful for you, Cheryl.
Wow. Yeah. But you're right. We need to be open. And for example, I cried during the session a lot. So there was a lot of things from my obviously childhood or something coming out, and I was absolutely into it, and it helped. Just one session and I can drive the car now. Yes.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
This final segment is brought to you by HeyJustBe.com. I believe that achieving balance in the mental, physical, and metaphysical aspects of your purpose through learning, serving, and creating can transform your life into one you truly enjoy living. Want to learn more? Visit www.heyjustbe.com.
So how I wrap this shindig up is I ask people, what do they do to just be the best version of themselves so they can be good for everybody else? And I've asked Monika to do something really cool and special for me because I know the struggle of addiction is hard for everyone. I have people in my life that struggle with addiction. And so I kind of want to know, what do you do as a former alcoholic, addicted to something? What are the things that you do on a daily basis to try to help make sure that you keep your sobriety forever?
I wake up, and no matter how I feel, and even if, for example, Emma's fatigue hits hard, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my freedom. I'm grateful for my authenticity, for my health, that I'm still here, that my liver made it. I'm just grateful, and I express it no matter how I feel. And I value this actively every single day. And I never, ever forget my why. I have my why always close to me.
Where did you initially find that gratefulness? Because I'm assuming, would it be wrong to say that that gratefulness really helped your sobriety?
Absolutely. Being grateful is kind of a attitude, right? And it absolutely helps me. It absolutely helps me. I'm far less complaining than in the past. I'm not making other people responsible for my situation. I have MS, for example, and it's not always easy, but I have a very mild version so far. So that's a reason to be grateful, even when the shit hits the fan. And now I'm out of addiction and I'm not drinking. I'm not in active addiction anymore. I have every reason to be grateful, and I express that. And then it's much easier. It's better.
What was your gratefulness like when you were drinking?
I was grateful when I had enough beers in my fridge and I didn't run out of alcohol.
That was the only time, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm very honest now. But yeah, I was just grateful for the drinks.
Do you know what I think is so interesting about that is inside of addiction, and specifically with you, alcohol, you were grateful for alcohol, right? That's it. But now outside of addiction, you're grateful for hundreds of things probably. Like, you know what I mean? And it's weird how the one thing that is destroying you is the only thing that you're grateful for. But outside of that, you learn that there's gratefulness everywhere, all around you all the time.
This is very well said, Scott. Very well said. It's crazy and it's true.
I've never really thought of it like that. But like, you know, I think a lot of my change as a human being, at least internally for me, has been my gratefulness. You know, and I this would be a guess, but I feel like the greater my gratefulness is, the less I've drank, because I feel more grateful today than I did yesterday. And like, not that I ever feel like I had a problem with drinking, but I am not. There's no part of me that wants to drink. I don't know. I guess I wonder if maybe my sobriety is built on my gratefulness a little bit that I have currently.
It's a very good question. And maybe it has more than one pillar. Maybe it's not only built on gratitude. Maybe it's also built because you love the version you are right now. You love your sober you, and you do not like to manipulated. You do like to be raw, to be real, to be authentic. Maybe that's also kind of a driver for you. What do you think?
When I think about not drinking anymore and going out with my friends or being in Europe where the culture is kind of different, really the only thing that would even make me want to drink would be like if I just was craving something like, oh, like it'd be cool to have a beer, or I'm in Germany, so I need to have a beer because I'm in Germany. I won't get to do this again, or whatever it is, right? Or do I feel like I'm not part of the group? Like, do I socially feel out of place? And like this version of me doesn't give a shit about being socially out of place. Like, I don't care that I don't fit into the group. And I think that is a huge difference in me. And it is built on gratefulness that I do get to be my best version of myself, and I don't have to do certain things to fit in or whatever. I don't know. This is all random thoughts. I never really thought about it. Like, I've never thought about my sobriety to my gratefulness, but there's a level I think that, I mean, all the people that I know that are currently sober are very grateful. So, I mean, there has to be some connection.
That's very interesting. Yeah, there must be a connection.
Let me ask you
That's very interesting.
Would you say there's a culture of gratefulness in Germany or Switzerland? Would you say the culture is very grateful as a culture, or no?
But I'm a bit overwhelmed by this question. I don't know. A culture, per definition, is observable behavior. I can observe how I behave in terms of grateful or gratitude, my family, my friends. I cannot really judge in general for the culture, but I have a little tendency or a little impression. And the impression is, let's aim for more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's aim for more. Let's go a step further. Another car, another house, another boat. A little bit like that.
I think humans as a whole, we're pretty much the same, whether we're here in the United States or we're in overseas, right? I mean, we're all kind of, the nuances might be different, but overall as a whole. And when I think about sobriety, drinking, and gratefulness here in the United States, I think that we could all not focus on like the next car, the next boat, the next house, and focus just more on like what I have, what I'm grateful for. And I think that in between is maybe where drinking starts to happen. You know what I mean? Like the pressure and the things and stuff like that. So when you stay over here in gratefulness, you don't feel the pressure to do or be anything. You're just like, I'm here and I'm grateful. And so there's no pressure to drink because you're like, I'm here and I'm grateful. I don't know.
Do you also think that this gratitude attitude has a very positive impact on our children? I think it has a huge, great impact.
Look, I know I've said this before. My daughter's 4. She goes to a Montessori school, and her teacher said that she is the nicest, kindest, most caring. She worries about her friends when they're not like at school. She wants to check on them. Like, she's always willing to be helpful. She's always encouraging. And I'm not taking full credit, but I got to think the way we approach things here at home, because that's how I want to be as a person, 1000% has an impact on how she responds and who she is, because
of course,
because I treat it as something as this is what we do. This is how we are. This is how we treat people. Like she went to a place the other day, and she told me that some kid like stuck his tongue out at her and then like gave her like a thumbs down or something like that. And I just said, some people don't know how to behave or be polite and nice, but that's not us. So we're not going to worry about those people. We're just going to worry about what we do and how we respond, and we're just going to not give that any attention. You know what I mean? And like, that's not the way that I was kind of approached as a kid, right? But then like 2, I don't even know if that's good. I don't even know if that's a good job. But what I do know is that like she's going to have that experience 50 million times across her lifetime. Like she's going to have awkward, weird interactions that can have an impact on her anxiety and her fear and her thoughts that could lead to things like alcoholism, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just want her to be as best prepared for everything as I see that I can. And so just like every parent, I'm doing my best job.
What a great approach. What a great approach.
Well,
and I met the experience that it's a little gratitude exercise I do is sometimes helpful when they are a little bit grumpy. You know, this grumpy feeling like, oh, there's too much homework and I also want a PlayStation. I don't have a PlayStation. Blah, blah. It's a bit grumpy, yeah. And then you say, hey, now we make a minute. Everybody says in 1 minute what we are grateful for. As much things, human situations, whatever. It pops in your mind in 1 minute. Let's go. And after this minute, the grumpiness is gone. Really, that has an impact.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm totally going to steal that. I'm 100% going to
steal that. But
go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I am this way because I'm sober. I am a 100%. Mommy who has the capacity to reflect about these things and taking time for these topics because I'm out of active addiction. Yeah. And that's why I'm grateful for.
Yeah. It's a great gift that you're giving to yourself. And it's a great gift that you're giving to everyone around you, by the way. Oh. Everyone that interacts with you is getting a great gift. You know what I mean? Because you're showing up as the best version of yourself, right? Well, I mean, I always ask people, did they have a good time? Like they're not going to say something on a video like they didn't have a good time. But, in your first, have you been on podcasts before overseas?
I've been on one podcast in Germany, not with you, not over the pond.
Okay. And did you have to speak German on that podcast?
Yes.
Okay. How did you feel about your English on this podcast? I felt like it was great.
I hope it was good enough. Voila.
Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Scott. It was a great time, a great experience. I feel honored and thank you very much.
Awesome. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.